Hello and welcome to Naad Education. This series of lectures is to clear our basics of biology, and today we are going to talk about LUCA and FUCA. LUCA is something that has been asked a lot in the examinations, and we'll just come to it. But FUCA is also something that sometimes is asked and we should know about it. So these terms, or rather I should say that these are acronyms for some detailed um, terminology that we use. So let's get into this. So the introduction, LUCA stands for Last Universal Common Ancestor. It is the hypothesized common ancestral cell from which the three domains of life originated: the bacteria, the archaea, and the eukarya. The term LUCA was first used in the 1990s for primordial organism from which all the life forms descended. So from this I think you can already understand. The one thing that you need to remember in this is that we do not exactly know how the first cell looked like. So this is basically a hypothesized common ancestral cell, which means that we have some image, we have some thought about how the first cell would look like, and we that would have been the primordial organism which would have given rise to all the biodiversity that we see today. And the thing to notice or to keep in mind here is that it is hypothesized that the first cell would look like this, and that first cell we called as the last universal common ancestor. And also one thing to remember is that it is considered, LUCA here is a living cell. So we say that it is a proper living cell. It would have been a proper living cell compared to the next thing that we are going to see, which is FUCA, which is um, termed as a non-living entity. So we'll come to that, but the two main things to remember is, number one, that it is hypothesized that the first cell would look like this, and we are talking about the cell or a living thing, the first living cell that would have, what properties would it have? That is known as the last universal common ancestor, or LUCA. There are some other points in the image that is present on the slide, but we are going to discuss some hypothesized properties of LUCA as well. So because we have hypothesized how the first cell would look like, so these are the things that we think through research the first cell would have. So it must have genes and a genetic code. This is one of the properties. The other thing that we think the LUCA would have had is it would have had genetic material, and that should have been DNA, and it would have been somewhere similar to the size of the modern prokaryotes. And so the modern bacteria and LUCA would have had somewhere similar amount or the size of genetic material in them. And the other thing is that LUCA must have also had DNA polymerase and repair enzymes. Fourth point is that genetic recombination would have been possible in LUCA, such that genetic material can be transferred from one cell to another through, let's say, horizontal gene transfer. So all these properties would have been present in the first ancestral cell, or LUCA. It would have had a cell membrane and with a structure of lipid bilayer. The cell would have multiplied through cell division, and LUCA must have inhabited either hydrothermal vents or acidic metal rich hydrothermal fields, and would have respired anaerobically. That is without the presence of oxygen, so anaerobic respiration was prominent in LUCA. So these are the properties that are hypothesized that these properties would have been present in the first ancestral cell. Now briefly we talk about FUCA, FUCA, which is the first universal common ancestor. So as I have told you earlier that the FUCA is a non-cellular entity. It is not considered that it is, we can't define whether it is living or non-living, but the main thing to say here is that it is not a cell properly. It is most likely bounded by a membrane and has the necessary machinery with the genetic code for translation of uh, it has the necessary genetic code capable of biological translation of RNA molecules into peptides to produce proteins, after which there would have been further modifications, and then we think that such sort of a simple machinery would have evolved into LUCA, which would have been the first cell. But the first simplest machinery, which is more like a non-cellular entity, is called FUCA, and it is believed that it does not have much of a machinery but enough to translate RNA molecules into peptides and proteins. And lastly, it would have given rise to the LUCA, the proper cell. So this is it for this lecture, and it was a short lecture for mostly for if somebody asks you for differences in the two terms and the full forms and some properties that you have to mention. Thank you so much, and please leave a like, subscribe, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. There are a lot of videos that you can explore, and if you have any requests for notes or for any other explanation, any other video, any other question, then I am very happily making them. So please put down in the comment section your requests, and please share it with your friends. Thank you so much.